In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum, welcome to my channel. I am Musaddiq Farooq, Assistant Professor of English in Higher Education Department of the Government of the Punjab. Moving through the history of English literature, today we have reached the age of Geoffrey Chaucer, undoubtedly the father of English poetry. He is truly first great figure in the history of English literature. And there can be absolutely no denial of the fact that had there been no Geoffrey Chaucer, there would have been no blossoming of English language as we know it today. English language would have probably relegated to the background, and the country that we now know as England might have chosen French or any other language as its national language. So it was this person who truly realized the potential of English language and used it in poetry and conveyed to all the literary persons that this was a language that was second to none. But here I would like to mention something that is very important for my viewers. They are requested not to underestimate the lectures that have passed till now. I have discussed Anglo-Saxon age, then I have moved through Middle Ages and now reached the age of Geoffrey Chaucer. So I assure you that there was nothing unimportant in my previous lectures, and for example, if you leave everything aside that was mentioned in those lectures and those things appear in your paper, you cannot complain, because officially there is no doubt that history of English literature begins with the Anglo-Saxon age. And I did not go into the unnecessary details either. I made only 45 MCQs on Anglo-Saxon age, and so far I have made only 40 multiple choice questions on the age preceding Geoffrey Chaucer. But since Geoffrey Chaucer is a very important figure in the history of English literature, so the number of questions is going to be a bit higher in my coming lectures. My previous lectures contained somewhere 20 to 25 multiple choice questions, but this lecture is going to have 30 questions. And if you are following my lectures, or whether you are new or old user of my channel, for the preparation of PPSC or FPSC lectureship for the subject of English, you are requested to subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon that is present just beside that subscribe button, so that you do not miss any video that I am going to upload in near future. So viewers, as it has been my custom to start my lecture with some inspirational tag, motivational tag, the tag or quotation for today is: the secret of getting ahead is getting started. Sometimes you might have felt that the task that is lying before you is very difficult and you are quite frightened to take initiative for it. But once you get it started, the way is open for you, and you even find some innovative ways to do it. On the other hand, if you just keep on sitting and planning about it, there might be some fear in your mind that will just hinder your initiative capability or getting start. So it is necessary to remain motivated throughout this preparation. Let's move on to our test. This is question number 41, because 40 multiple choice questions have already been discussed regarding Middle Ages. And on the test day you are going to have 54 seconds for every question. 90 minutes, 100 questions, right? 54 seconds, not even 1 single minute, not a whole minute. So if you find that I'm going too fast, you can just pause the video, have as much time as you want, and then move on to selecting your option, and then you can listen to what the answer is. And the second thing before starting this lecture is that the question number 40 that we discussed in the last lecture was about allegorical romance, right? We were talking about romance, and then we moved on to allegorical romance. It was the same story in the form of verse, usually, that has some themes that were related to courtly lives related to household of lords and knights. But now with the passage of time, what happened was that allegorical element entered into that romance form of literature. So there is a continuity between our questions. The first question says Roman de la Rose. It was written in French language and it was very popular in that age. It was followed repeatedly by the subsequent poets. Now the question is, Roman de la Rose was the most remarkable and most influential allegorical romance of the Middle Ages. Its first part, over 4,000 lines in short couplets, was written by Guillaume de Lorris in 1227, and second, over 22,000 lines by Jean de Meun in 1268 to 77. Now, which of the following famous poets translated the first part? Now, the options are Dante, Chaucer, Boccaccio, and Tennyson. So, if you have chosen Dante, you were incorrect. Boccaccio, not correct. Tennyson, not correct. So, it was Geoffrey Chaucer who translated the first part of this allegorical romance into English language. And you might have read that if we study the life of Chaucer, it can be divided as far as his literary capabilities are concerned. It can be divided into French, Italian, and English periods. And this is going to be a question in the later part of this lecture, so just stay on. The next question is, which of the following forms Roman de la Rose take? Now this is very simple question, because if you have read the previous question closely, you might have read that the answer was dream allegory. So apart from this option, which option? Dream allegory. All the other options are of course incorrect. Moving on to the next slide, question number 43 says, choose the poem that delineates, depicts, shows, represents the lament. Lament means melancholy, sadness, dejection of a father for his daughter who had died before she was 2. Now the poem is in the form of dream allegory, but you have to choose the title of that poem, right? So if you have chosen Patience, you are incorrect, right? Patience is definitely the name of a poem that was written in that age, Middle Ages, but this is not correct in this case. Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, again not correct. Cleanness, not correct. Although all these options are definitely names or titles of some poems, but in this case the correct option is Pearl, right? Actually that the daughter of that person, the central character, the protagonist, that was the Pearl for him. The next question says, which of the following forms of narrative poetry existed side by side with the romance during Middle Ages literature? The correct option in this case is fabulo, right? And I've gone through this question very quickly because I think this question has been repeated. It was also there in the previous lecture. The next question says, in which form of medieval poetry do we find the stories of Robin Hood? So you can see scope for discussion in this question is quite limited. So we will just go to the correct answer. Answer is ballad, right? Ballad is correct answer. All the other options are incorrect. Now, how many ballads survive dating from before 1600? Again, I don't think there is anything that can be discussed here. We will just move to the correct answer, that is 14. All the other options are automatically incorrect. 40, 28 or 20, all other options are incorrect. Next question is, when was Geoffrey Chaucer born and when did he die? Now you must have noticed here that I could have made 2 questions out of this same information, right? One information is about his birth, the other information is about his death. But I have not done so because I'm not just going to focus on quantity or number. I'm just going to focus on important information. So you must have noticed, and you will definitely notice in my next questions as well, that there is a lot of information in my lectures, and I could have made many more questions as compared to the number of questions that I have made in these slides. So this combination that you are going to choose from the given options is first here in all these options, let's say 13, 40, 85, 14, 20. If you choose any option, the first option is always for birth and the next is for death. The first option says 1340 to 1400, 1314 to 1400. Whatever it is, it must be correct one. So the correct option here is 1340 to 1400 respectively, right? This option is correct. All the other options are of course incorrect. And there are some sources I have consulted that say that he was born somewhere in 1342. So another thing that you must have noticed in these options is C, right? Letter C is present in every option. It means circa, CIRCA, and that means roundabout, approximately. So if some source says that Chaucer was born in 1341, 42, 43 even, that does not matter a lot, because it is agreed upon that he was born somewhere around 1340. And also it is so because Chaucer, when he was born, nobody knew that he was going to become a prominent figure in the history of English literature. But when he died, definitely everybody knew that he was some important figure. That is why the year of death is not disputed. The next question says he used the intellectual and imaginative resources of the Middle Ages, not as Dante did, to present a great concrete embodiment of the moral and theological universe in which medieval man lived, but to bring alive with vividness and cunning the psychological and social world of his time. Now, this is a statement that is written in praise of Geoffrey Chaucer, and you have to guess who was the critic who used this statement, or who uttered this statement, who wrote this statement. 4 critics are mentioned here. Again, you can pause the video, speculate about your option, and then select it. If you have chosen Matthew Arnold, you are not correct. Catherine Belzy again is not correct option. Compton Rickett again not correct. The correct option here is David Dacius, right? In his A Critical History of English Literature, Volume 1, he says these lines about Geoffrey Chaucer. Next question says Chaucer visited Italy for the first time in 1372 and 73, right? At the end of 72, and definitely the new year started in the same country for him. Again, I could have made another question from this same information, but you see that you are getting information of 2 questions from the same one question. Now the question is, when did he visit the same country for the second time? When did he visit Italy for the second time? The correct answer is 1378, right? All the other options are incorrect. The next question says, dream allegory was reigning supreme when Chaucer started writing. The Book of the Duchess was his first narrative poem, written at the end of 1369. It was in the form of dream allegory. What was the impetus behind this writing? There are 4 incidents here, 3 incidents. Fourth option is none of these, and you have to choose the right incident that inspired this composition. The first option says consolation of the Duke of Lancaster on the death of his Duchess Blanche, praise of the Duke of Burgundy for his wife, lament of the Duke of Cornwall for his dead wife, or none of these. The correct option here is alpha option. All the other options are of course incorrect. The next option, correct question is, the Book of the Duchess was written in couplets. How many syllables does every line have? It was actually octosyllabic line that he used for that poem. So octo means 8. The correct option here is 8, right? Not 10, 6 or 4. The next question is, in dream allegory, scenes like a wandering dreamer, chirping of birds and colorful imagery are found in abundance. Which time of the year is commonest in such works? December evenings, May mornings, April afternoons, summer nights. The correct option is May mornings, option beta, right? The next question says, Chaucer witnessed the ages of 3 kings, 3 monarchs. Now, which of the following was not among those 3? Right? Now, Geoffrey Chaucer was born in the age of Edward III, lived through the age of Richard II, and in the last few years he also witnessed the age of Henry IV. So it was Henry II who was not there in his lifetime. So this option is correct for us. All the other options in this case are not correct because we had to choose which of the following was not among the three. Right. The next question says, what was the profession of Chaucer's father? The first option says vintner, it means wine merchant. The second option is blacksmith. Parson, apothecary. Apothecary was the person who made some medicines and sold them as his profession. The correct option here is vintner. He was a wine merchant. Alright, move on to the next question. At what age did Chaucer receive a court appointment as page, servant, personal servant, right? To the wife of the Duke of Clarence, Edward III's third son. The correct option here is 17, alpha option. Alright, move on to the next question now. When was Chaucer taken as a prisoner by a French army? He was ransomed soon after that. The correct option for this question is 1359, right? If you remember, it was actually the age of 100 Years' War. I told you in one of my previous lectures that this war was fought between England and France from 1337 to 1453. So you know 1359, and this year definitely falls in that period. And 1360 was actually the year when he was ransomed, not taken as prisoner. So this option cannot be correct. 1360 is not correct. 1365 and 67 are also not correct either. Chaucer's visit to Italy brought him into direct contact with the greatest minds of his age. Which of them became the most important influence for his Canterbury Tales? So there is no doubt that it was Boccaccio, right? Because his Decameron was a work that inspired Canterbury Tales. All the other options are, of course, incorrect. The next option says, Chaucer refers to Petrarch in which tale? So here the answer is Pardoner's Tale, right? The next question says, Chaucer was buried in Westminster Abbey, right? The place was later on called what? The Great Yard? No. The Poet's Corner? Yes. The Last Mile? No. None of these again. No. The correct option is the Poet's Corner. The next question says, the Black Death struck Chaucer's England in which year? Black Death was actually pandemic rather, to be more correct. Pandemic is a disease that spreads across many countries at the same time. And here the options are 1356-7, no. 1354-5, no. 75-6, no. The correct option is 48-9. 61. The House of Fame. It is a work by Geoffrey Chaucer. Now the question is, has 3 parts and whose influence is evident in this work? Now the first thing that is dead sure about the answer is that Charlie and Delta cannot be correct because Goethe was a German poet, and he lived about 200 to 300 years after Chaucer had even died. And Virgil was much before Chaucer, so again these options are not correct. Right, the 2 options are Dante and Petrarch, and here the correct option is Dante. Alpha option is correct and Petrarch is not correct. Which of the following poems did Chaucer write in rhyme royal? The term was used for A-B, A-B, B-C-C rhyming scheme used by James I of Scotland for his King's Quair. Now the option which is first option is the Book of Duchess, but this book was actually written in the form of couplets and every line had 8 syllables. We have already studied it, so this option cannot be correct. The Parliament of Fowls? No. The House of Fame? Yes. Right, not Canterbury Tales now. The Parliament of Fowls was written in celebration of which day? The correct option here is St. Valentine's Day. All the other options are incorrect. Next question is Troilus and Criseyde was most probably composed in the middle of. Probable date for this composition is 1380, right? 1380. All the other options are incorrect. The next question says, what was the major source for Troilus and Criseyde? Here the correct option is alpha, right? All the other options are incorrect. Troilus and Criseyde revolves around what? An elegy on the death of his hero's wife? No. A love story of a couple? Yes, because Troilus was hero and Criseyde was heroine, and it was a love story. So the correct option is beta option. All the other options are incorrect. Next question, 67. How many books does Troilus and Criseyde have? It has 5 books, right? The next question, one of the major events during Chaucer's lifetime was the Peasants' Revolt in 1381. Alright. Now, it is also referred to as the Great Rising. What is another term for this rebellion, right? The Peasants' Revolt, the Great Rising, and there was also a third name for this event, and the correct option here is Wat Tyler's Rebellion. He was a clergyman, and there were some other persons who started this rebellion. Chaucer's literary career is generally divided into 3 distinct periods: French, Italian, English. The Book of Duchess belongs to the first period, whereas the House of Fame and Troilus and Criseyde belong to the Latin period. What is the duration of the second period? Here the correct option is 1370 to 84. And by the way, the first period here, it is up to 1370. Alright. And after 1384, he moved on to English period, and Canterbury Tales is the most significant work of his English period. The next question is, the Canterbury Tales. In Canterbury Tales, a number of pilgrims on eve of their departure meet at what place? The correct option is Tabard Inn. All other options are again incorrect. Now this was the last slide, and we have completed 70 questions from Middle Ages, and in this lecture most of the questions were from Geoffrey Chaucer, and the viewers are requested to read Canterbury Tales and prologue to the Canterbury Tales, because the next lecture will contain questions from Canterbury Tales mostly. If there is any question, confusion, you can contact me either in the comment section below this lecture, or you can contact me on my Facebook link. That is with my own name, Musaddiq.Farooq. Right? You can see here at the bottom of this slide. So till the next lecture, goodbye, take care.